We often treat truth like an acquisition, don't we?
We do, like we're collecting objects.
Right. We find a fact, we form an opinion, and then we put it in our pocket and just assume we own it now. A settled thing.
A finished possession.
Exactly. But the sources we've been diving into this week, which, well, they draw on some really deep philosophical and theological texts,
Hmm.
they propose a completely different idea.
A much more demanding one.
Much more. They suggest that truth is fundamentally a pursuit. It's not some static asset you possess. It's a movement you have to keep performing.
Relentlessly.
So our mission today is to really get into this concept, this mandate for continuous, vigorous understanding. We're going to explore the barriers that stop this pursuit.
And they are significant.
And we'll look at the role that reflection, reason, and maybe above all, a kind of radical humility play in the search for knowledge, a process the source material calls ilm.
And, we have to start with the single greatest threat to your intellectual growth because it's not external. It's internal. The sources make it crystal clear that the most dangerous barrier to knowledge is simply believing you already have it.
That you've arrived.
That you've arrived. It's that moment you stop seeing yourself as a seeker.
Yeah.
And you start acting like a guard. The investigation is over. When in reality, it's barely scratched the surface.
Okay, let's unpack that moment, that moment of stasis. Because if this is supposed to be a continuous process, when does the pursuit actually end? And when does the defense of a potentially flawed idea begin?
The sources are very stark on this. They say it happens at the precise moment you stop digging.
Stop digging.
When you stop questioning your own assumptions, when you refuse to test your core beliefs against, disruptive new information, when you start filtering for comfort instead of for accuracy.
So if you settle into a fixed position, politically, scientifically, whatever, you've stopped seeking truth.
That's it. That's the moment intellectual complacency becomes genuinely dangerous.
But, practically speaking, how do you live with that? If the work of understanding is never finished, does that mean we can never settle on anything? We have to make decisions.
Of course.
We have provisional facts we need to use every day. So how do you square that continuous pursuit with the need to just function?
That's a great challenge. And the answer, I think, lies in understanding the difference between a provisional fact and a foundational truth. We absolutely have to settle on provisional facts to function.
That's the scientific method, right?
Yeah, that's the scientific method in action, exactly. But the mandate here is that you have to hold those facts lightly.
Okay.
The work involves constantly reviewing and updating your own internal operating system. If you treat your current beliefs as a final draft instead of an active beta version, you just stop evolving.
So it's not about perpetual confusion.
No, not at all. It's about perpetual intellectual motion. Always being ready to discard the less accurate for the more accurate.
That reframes it completely. It connects intellectual rigor with a real humility, recognizing today's certainty is just a stepping stone.
It has to be.
And what's fascinating in these sources is how powerfully this idea aligns with the Islamic approach to knowledge, which is known as ilm. The source material describes the pursuit of ilm as something far more than just, intellectual curiosity. It's elevated to a sacred duty. It's framed as a form of worship.
And that changes everything. When you frame learning as worship, it immediately changes the quality of the effort you put in.
Oh, so?
Well, it moves from being an optional hobby to a spiritual necessity. If your investigation into reality, into history, into science, if that's an act of devotion, then the act of learning gains this immense seriousness and moral purpose.
Oh.
It demands your absolute best.
And there's a deeper reason it has to be endless, isn't there? Something to do with the concept of Al-Haqq.
Yes. This is where the cosmic context comes in.
Walk us through that, because this seems like a critical point.
Yeah.
What exactly is Al-Haqq?
Al-Haqq translates as the absolute truth or the reality. But crucially, in the Islamic tradition, Al-Haqq is one of the 99 names of God.
Ah, so it's not just a concept.
It's not metaphorical, it's ontological. The sources are saying that the very nature of truth is divine, eternal, and limitless.
So seeking any truth, whether it's in a lab or a library,
Is intrinsically linked to seeking closeness to the divine, to that source of absolute reality.
that completely changes the scale. If the ultimate object of your search is infinite and limitless, then your human journey towards it has to be endless.
It must be.
You can't contain infinity in your pocket.
Exactly. You cannot hold the absolute truth as a finished possession. The goal isn't to reach a destination and settle down. The goal is the continuous, humble process of moving closer to it, knowing you will never, ever exhaust it.
This framework just permanently forbids intellectual self-satisfaction.
It's designed to.
Which brings up a really important question about the how. If knowledge is a sacred duty, how are people supposed to undertake it? Because I think a lot of people might assume a religious context means blind faith, unquestioning acceptance.
Right.
Yet the sources highlight the complete opposite. They make the point that the sacred texts do not ask for blind obedience.
That's the rhetorical power the sources lean on so heavily. The text doesn't just state facts, it constantly challenges the human mind to process them. The commands are not just about what to believe, but how to arrive at belief.
Through your own internal processing.
Yes, through rational processing. And the main way it does this is through direct questions. They function almost like intellectual speed bumps throughout the text, designed to jolt you into action.
What are they? Lay them out for us.
Well, the first one is, do they not reflect? In Arabic, afala yatafakkarun.
Do they not reflect?
It's a demand for deep contemplation, to think about causes, effects, evidence, implications.
And the other one?
The second is even more pointed. Will you not use your reason? Afala takilin.
That's very direct.
It's a command to deploy your rational faculty, your intellect. It's a forceful rejection of being intellectually passive. You are not allowed to sit back.
So it's not just a suggestion, it's a requirement to engage, to be critical, to apply your full rational capacity. It puts the burden of proof on you.
That's it. If you're seeking Al-Haqq, the absolute truth, you have to use the tools of reason and reflection you've been given. If you don't, the source implies the failure is yours, no matter how good the information is.
And to really hammer this point home, the sources provide a very sharp counterexample, right, for those who shirk this duty.
A very sharp one. It specifically condemns those who just blindly follow the traditions of their forefathers, their inherited culture, without investigating the truth for themselves.
It's a warning against, what, cultural inertia?
Exactly. It's the ultimate expression of that idea we started with. Stopping the digging is starting the defense of a potential lie. If you adopt a belief system, your company's way of doing things, your family's politics, just because that's how it's always been,
you failed the command to reason.
You have consciously chosen comfort over the demanding but rewarding path of pursuit.
Which brings us to the internal state you need for this. We've talked about the actions, reflection, reason, but those are impossible if your mindset is hostile to learning.
You can have the best data in the world.
Right, but if you approach it with a closed heart, you'll just filter out anything that challenges you.
You'll see only what you want to see.
And this is where the source material pivots to humility and introduces this huge barrier of arrogance, or Kibr.
Kibr is. Well, it's considered the great internal lock on the door of understanding. It's not just about being a bit smug. In this context, it's the barrier that actively prevents the heart from seeing corrective truth.
So if you're already convinced of your own complete, finalized knowledge,
you seal yourself off. Arrogance is like intellectual concrete. It fixes your position so firmly that no new idea can penetrate. No self-correction can happen.
You're choosing to be defined by what you already know, not by what you still need to find out.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So humility isn't just a polite virtue. It's an indispensable tool for learning. It's the mechanism that keeps the door propped open.
It has to be. If you acknowledge that you are seeking the infinite Al-Haqq, then humility is just the honest recognition of your own ignorance compared to that.
And this parallel runs deep because the source draws a powerful distinction. Just like truth, faith isn't a static object you just own.
Right. It's a path you have to continuously walk.
And the requirement for walking that path
is radical humility. It demands a constant state of seeking to understand more today than you did yesterday. Acknowledging that gulf between your understanding and the absolute truth, you have to be ready always to unlearn and relearn.
That sounds exhausting, but also, I have to say, incredibly invigorating. It means every day is a fresh chance to question your certainty, to test your knowledge.
And to approach the world with an open mind, ready to be corrected.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner, navigating a world just saturated with information? If we pull it all together, the central thesis is that knowledge is, well, it's deeply demanding.
It requires continuous action testing, questioning, and most importantly, that foundational state of humility.
To stay informed, you just can't afford to be static.
You have to treat your understanding, no matter the topic, as a perpetual work in progress. It's a dynamic duty, requiring you to apply reason at all times so your provisional facts don't harden into stagnant dogma.
So here is the final challenge, right from the sources. That warning that the moment you stop the inquiry, you are potentially starting the defense of a lie.
A powerful thought.
We all have beliefs, professional methods, political stances, personal philosophies that we carry around like these cherished, settled possessions.
Absolutely.
So we ask you, the learner, what is that one personal belief, that one sacred possession of knowledge that you haven't subjected to rigorous, humble digging recently? What might you be starting to defend simply because you've let the inquiry stop?
That answer should probably guide your very next deep dive.